Good evening and welcome to episode 78 of the Jacksonian. I'm yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and I'm here with the host of Locked On West Virginia, the one and only himself, Mountaineer Paul, as we'll be going over our take on the West Virginia Mountaineers in 2025 so far, the second stint of the Rich Rod era, the backyard brawl, and the story of his life on how he got into content creation. And let me tell you something, folks, you're going to be in for a wild ride. How you doing today, good buddy?
Doing good, man. Hopefully, I can live up to everything there. Obviously, the backyard brawl is the height of my week, but certainly glad to give you guys some backstory on the crazy choices that I've made that lead up to this.
Absolutely, man. That's what we're gonna be happy to hear about, ladies and gentlemen. And for those who don't know about you, try to tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I host a show called Locked On West Virginia. I started out Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. They reached out to me about a year ago to host the show under Locked On. So it was a change because I had to trust them. I had to kind of give the rights to my show up. But what I got in return was a structured show with a bunch of sponsors and a whole team of people behind me to push me. And it's been a great decision. I did lose the license to my show, but I'm still able to be the host of it, and I make all the creative decisions for it. So it hasn't been a bad trade off. The only way it would ever be bad is if I ever, God forbid, got fired or something, which shouldn't happen. But yeah, so it's been a change, but I've enjoyed it. It's been a great ride so far for the last year. Actually, we just did. I don't know if you've seen. I put on X the other day, Jackson. Our 1 year totals on some things, and I was number one in the company in growth for podcasting, which was
Yeah.
pretty wild out of everybody, considering we have all 32 NFL teams, all the NBA teams, and probably what I don't know, but at least we've got the entire Big 12, ACC, SEC. Like we've got a bunch of different hosts. Um, so I was surprised to see that. And no, I mean I knew I'd been doing well, but so yeah, so it's been a great choice early on to do the locked on thing.
Oh man, and for those that have tuned in to Locked On West Virginia, I've had the honor of starting with Mountaineer Paul as a guest. So it's like it's a fun experience, and you'll probably be seeing me on a weekly basis on with Mountaineer Paul talking about some Mountaineers, making some Big 12 pits, and much more. So for those that have been tuning in, it's a fun adventure, and always fun hanging with you, good buddy.
You too, man.
But let's get this show started with your backstory.
Yeah,
You've had some adventures in
right.
your life, like
Yep.
before you got into content creation. Like you served in the Marines, and you've dealt some really hardcore stuff. Like, what was that exactly for those that don't know it?
Yeah. Well, I guess the best place to start would be so I was what they call a late bloomer as far as sowing my wild oats go. I went in the Marine Corps in November of 2003. Um, got out in February of '07. So basically, I was in the reserves. And I was only going on up, once you get done with all your basic training and all your school, you got your Marine combat training, all the different things you do. I had to come back home, one and then go train 1 week in the month and 2 weeks in the summer. So that way, in case you get deployed, you can be ready. The only reason I chose it was because I had a girlfriend and I wanted to be able to go back home. And that she wasn't even my girlfriend anymore by the time I got out. So, it's like it was a bad choice. But I moved into an apartment with some friends that were already in the way I describe it, full blown active addiction.
Oh wow!
They were all already doing major, at that time, they were snorting pills
Oh,
and smoking weed. which by my standards later on got to be, I mean, that was mild by my standards by the end of it. So that's kind of where it began. From there, I would say that, so, in recovery, we have, and I am clean, by the way, obviously. So we will get to that. But in recovery, we kind of have a saying that, you know, it's a progression, right? The disease of addiction is a progression. It starts out as something and ends up as something totally something else. Like, it's like the casual drinker that drinks one beer a day that doesn't know he's an alcoholic, and then before he's over with and done with drinking, he's drinking a gallon a day, right, or whatever, of vodka. Similar to that, except with drugs. I started out, I smoked weed a couple different times and really enjoyed that at the time. And so, obviously I was doing that with them more and more often, and you're only going up 1 weekend a month. So it's like at a certain point, and obviously I'm ashamed of a lot of this stuff, but I've obviously recovered from a lot of that shame over the course of time. Um, but I'm not proud of this, is what I'm saying. But the Marines were a thorn in my side after a certain point in time, going up there 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer. I wasn't working out. I wasn't focused on that career at all. I was too worried about partying with my friends. And I grew up in a household that was church every Sunday, every Wednesday, church camp, all the church events. You give your life to the church, basically. Sung in the choir. My family sung in the choir. My mom and dad had a Southern gospel group, the whole thing. So all my friends were church. So I didn't have any inkling to what I was getting into. I was really naive to a lot of different things. I had no clue that I even had these addictive tendencies. And by the time I had knew what was going on, I was pretty much calling my sister. I remember I was at a Friday night football game, high on Oxycontin, telling my sister, I think I'm addicted to these.
Wow.
The first pill I ever did, and for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, when cancer patients are, going through a lot of pain, they prescribe them Oxycontin, which is one of the strongest pain medications in the world. They don't even make it a lot of places anymore, but back then they did in the early 2000s, like to 05, 2010 in there. I the first thing I ever did was what they call half of an Oxy 80, which is 40 milligrams of Oxycontin. And it was a lot. And I probably shouldn't have done that much. I'm lucky I didn't get sick or maybe even overdose, but I didn't. And from then on, that's what I chased literally for the next, well, let's say it was 2005. So 15 years, right? Until 2020. I think I just didn't know the seriousness of the matter. I didn't realize that it was going to be something that was going to last that long. And before you know it, you're physically dependent on this, because with pain medicine, if you take it every day, there becomes a physical dependency, and you get what they call sick. You wake up, you feel really bad. And I didn't realize what was happening. I was asking my buddies, like, man, why do I feel so rough over this? And they told me it's because of detox, basically. Excuse me. And so to speed the story up a little bit, that lasted for 15 years. The consequences, they varied, but I'll take it one more step before I kind of gloss over some of it. Unfortunately, I got in trouble for it as well. And my aunt, she had a trailer that she had been evicted from that my dad owned. It was on my property. Like, I lived on a corner lot, and the trailer was literally next door. So in my head, we owned it. And I had some people that I got these pills from that had just been evicted, and I put two and two together. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to move them in next door. And as we went to go move him in, my aunt's stuff was all still there. So we made him leave. I went to Plasma Center the next day to donate plasma to try to get money because I didn't have any. And uh, I I had my mom come get me on the way home. She was mad at me and I didn't know why. Well, my aunt filed a false renter's insurance claim, a lie, saying that she was burglarized, all to collect that check,
Oh wow.
not knowing that it was going to sentence me to prison. And they sentenced me, they got me for burglary on that. It's the only thing that I've never done that I got in trouble for. Everything else I did, this is the one thing. And I was in a boys cried wolf scenario, right? Because I had told all these people, like, you know, all these lies leading up to this. And I'd actually taken one of my dad's checks and written a check once. So, there was a lot of things leading up to that where when I tried to say I didn't do this to my aunt, nobody believed me. And they put me in jail and didn't get me out. So I ended up getting sentenced to a rehab with 4 years in prison over my head as long as I completed probation. And I never completed probation. I did every year of that 4 years. Over the course of the next 15 years, I was so bitter over that arrest because can you imagine? Think about 4 years from today.
Yeah.
Think about being told that 4 years from today. It's a long time right in your head.
Yeah.
So imagine not doing it and that happening. I was bitter and angry the entire time I was locked away. And I said, I get out. I told people over and over, and I meant it. I'm going to start doing some things that I deserve. If I'm going to have this life, if I've got this felony now, I might as well just go ahead and earn it. And that's how I felt for a long time. I was very bitter. I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I wanted to do all these different things. And in my head, because of the life decisions that I'd made and her lie, I couldn't do any of those things anymore. I couldn't get a government job, couldn't vote, couldn't own a gun, couldn't get certain jobs, couldn't be a police officer if I wanted to be, whatever. Like it took a lot away from me, and to this day I have problems with being over it. When I tell the story, some of that anger comes back. But over the course of the next 15 years, I went through 4 prison stays, 2 bouts of homelessness where I lived outside for more than 10 months at a time. Um, I had several near-death experiences, whether that be from
Oh wow.
overdosing. I became an IV heroin addict where I was shooting up heroin outside, living outside
Yikes.
in abandoned houses and buildings to, you know, name it. I was homeless in Huntington, West Virginia, and it was a rough existence during a time when Huntington, West Virginia was one of the more dangerous places to live outside. And I chose it. I could have went different routes. I was given chances for sure, but I chose that life. And while the addiction part of that was definitely the biggest component, there were other issues I had too, mental health wise, that I probably wasn't dealing with. I was held at gunpoint several different times. I was stripped totally naked one time,
Oh wow.
made to kneel onto a tarp. Um, it's just a crazy story. Like I've got a bunch of stories that I can tell within all this that it would take me literally hours. I could probably write a book on it, but I
Oh, you
will
definitely
tell
you
one.
should, man. I'm telling you.
I'll
I am.
tell one really quick one that kind of will jar people to see. And this is on the extreme side, but the crazy part about this is somebody I knew to be a killer let me have this money. So a guy that I hadn't seen in a long time, he was a guy that was homeless as well, that I became friends with because he was a different and unique kind of person. Like he wouldn't talk like you and I did. He would talk like this. Yeah, well, sure. Like it's almost like he was a meme. He'd be like, well, sure, Paul, we can do it. Like he claimed to be like an Amish type guy. But once I got to know him, I learned that his name was Matthew Bryant Parham, And he had been walking for 5 years from Tucson, Arizona. And when I met him, he was in Huntington, West Virginia. He had all these pictures, and he had literally boxes and boxes full of these composite notebooks where he kept all these notes about himself. And I was like really fascinated by him. He was at the homeless shelter, and we got to know each other. And he was like, listen, I had an addiction once. You can walk with me and I can help you deal with it. Well, he wanted to test me out to see if I could handle the walk, because he was walking, literally walking from Arizona to New York City. It took him like 5 years because he would stay a place 2 months or 3 months. Well, it came to find out, he confided in me one day that he had an issue with killing people at one point in time, women, namely. And this is an absolute true thing that he admitted to me, that it was an addiction for him, that he was trying to help me with my addiction. And I'm thinking, and we're sitting in an abandoned park in the middle of December on a blanket on a boat dock, like as you back your boat down in. We were on the ramp. I'm sitting on the upper part of the ramp. We had our shoes off, and he was shaking. He was visibly shaking, telling me this story about the first time he killed somebody. And I was sitting there thinking, what have I got myself into? So that's what's funny, is he's not even the story I was going to tell. He let me borrow some money one day, right? Because I just didn't have any, and I knew, we were friends. So I needed heroin, to be honest, and that's what it was about. But I can't just say my friend Matthew gave me money without always remembering, like, wait, this guy was a serial killer. He's not really my friend. He's actually a really bad person, needs to be buried under the jail. But, at the time, I put that aside to ask him that, and he gave it to me. On the way to get the drugs, the person I was with, a girl that was unfortunately a working girl outside, a lady of the night, if you will, picked us up and took us the rest of the way. That was a bad choice, because unfortunately he had a few days earlier took some guns from this person, and I guess he thought maybe he got away with it, and that guy was just waiting on him to come back. And of course we were in his car when this happened. So we pulled up to it was 9th and 11th, 9th Avenue, 11th Street, in Huntington. It's basically it was a miniature little Section 8 housing area. And to keep a long story short, they were pistol whipping him. And I'm telling her, like, we're in a bad spot here. Before I knew it, I had a gun to each one of my temples, where they made me strip naked to make sure I didn't have a phone, to make sure I didn't call the cops or record them. And I thought I was going to die. Like, the whole slow motion thing is real. Like when you're in a scenario like that, it really does go slow motion. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the life that I lived was extreme. And thankfully they let me go in my boxers, and that's it. They didn't let me have anything back. And I was grateful for it, Jackson. So obviously my addiction story is like extreme, on the extreme, what I would consider the extreme side of things. The only thing I didn't do was kill somebody or sell my body for drugs, to like another man or whatever. I obviously never did that. I knew people that did. So it's a very rough and extreme existence. Like I said, I went to prison 4 times, and I was miserable. And I just, every time I got out, I would go back to shooting up, because I felt like I was trash. And in 2020, when COVID happened, I went to rehab again. And I've always had a lot of recovery knowledge because of all the stays that I've had in, jails, institutions, mostly mental, some mental institutions as well, because when you're out there doing drugs, sleeping outside, sometimes you're doing cocaine or meth or whatever. When you're an addict, you're an addict. You can have these bouts of where you're chemically insane, right? Because you've done all these drugs. So I've been at mental institutions. I've been to a lot of rehabs, gained a lot of recovery knowledge. And I think this past time, I've been clean 5 years now. and it just stuck. I finally had enough of all that. And I like to say I'm probably one an extreme example of a lot of people would have gave up a lot sooner than I did, but I truly enjoyed the 5 seconds when you injected that. And it's not a euphoria that I think you're supposed to experience as a human. It's like you're basically cheat coding your brain into, not to be graphic, but it's a similar feeling to pleasure with a woman, right?
Hmm.
It's that kind of feeling to your brain, like when that moment happens with a woman. And so it's that dopamine hit. And so except if you look it up and scientifically, they'll see 300% stronger than that. So it's a very serious euphoria that I can't explain and don't miss because of what's attached to it. If I could have it risk free, of course anybody would take it, but there are risks and consequences attached. And I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of any of it. But I say all that to say that I've been totally set free as a person. 5 years clean, and it'll be 6 in September.
Well, there we
Um,
go.
and I, obviously, all that means that I've had basically no success until this podcast slash YouTube show started, which I'm very grateful for.
Well, I just want to be the first to say congratulations on 6 years of sobriety, man.
Well, not yet. Now, in recovery, one of the things we're taught not to do is count ahead, right?
Okay.
So I only take today for what it is. So I don't have the exact amount of days. How many days has it been since September 15th, 2020?
Oh shoot. So that's been like,
Let's
okay,
see.
365 times 5. Okay. Oh wow, that's gonna be next week.
Yep. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it's been, hold on, I'm about to tell you. Uh, it's not 1,095 days. So it's been 1,821 days since September 15th of 2020. And we got 5 days to go.
Oh, here we
So 1,826 days I'll be clean coming up in here in a couple of days.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's go. Congrats, man.
Pretty crazy, man. I've chosen every day for 1,821 days not to get up and use, which is incredible considering what I just told you,
Before you know it, you're gonna get to 6,000 days and 10,000 days.
which is one of my favorite albums of all time from Tool.
There we go, man. Like I'm happy for you, and I know everybody in the chat and all of us we're happy for you, and we're glad that you're with us, and congratulations, man, on getting away from that stuff.
Yeah, sometimes you struggle with the congratulatory part of it because it's like I was already supposed to be living my life right. I'm just catching up to everybody else, right?
That's okay.
But when you consider the disadvantage that addicts are placed in, it's it's a whole other ball of wax. They just it's such an extreme disadvantage that I can't even fathom how people today are doing it when as things are getting harder to access, whether that be help or even in some cases drugs that people need to help them to keep them from doing it, because they do sell a multitude of, not sell, but they do have a multitude of what I call like a protective factor, drugs that people can take that make them physically incapable of using. Some people use those and need those, like there's naloxone based drugs that people take. Some people take methadone, like different things like that will keep them from, like, even if they were to use a heroin or whatever, their brain wouldn't register it because it's blocked. You know what I mean? So and then it's getting harder for people to access those. and they're controversial. Some of them, not everybody agrees. My mindset is if somebody wants to take something they've been prescribed and they want to abuse it in their own home, that's not something I advocate for, but I would rather have that than somebody that's chasing an illegal drug on the streets every day that they are willing to rob, beg, cheat, steal to get.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are levels to it, but overall, man, I am very grateful that I am clean in this time and have been able to build the following that we've, been able to build so far.
Well, we're right there with you, good buddy. Like we are glad you're producing amazing content at Locked On West Virginia, and you got tremendous posts all over on X. And it's like we are loving your takes on West Virginia. That's for sure, and especially since what's going on with 2025 so far. Because I know like there's been that lost Ohio. And the second stint of Rich Rod, how's that gonna be in your eyes?
Oh man, I am.
Does it feel similar? Is it gonna feel similar to Bill Snyder's second stint K State?
We hope so. Hopefully, better. I think
Oh, there we go.
for me, anyways, I think that we're in a different era than Bill Snyder was in. So it's like, what's it going to look like this time? Because Rich Rod did it last time the old school way, where you stack recruiting classes, one on top of the other, and we don't live in that era anymore. Now we live in an era where you go buy players when you need them. But how can we build the West Virginia program up into a place where you can do that? I don't know in this era, but I do think Rich Rod's going to figure it out one way or the other because we want West Virginia to be relevant. And Rich Rodriguez is an elite culture guy. He really is. I know people like to look at Michigan and other places he's been. Fair point, but there are actually pretty crazy when you look deep into it. There was a book written on his time at Michigan called Three and Out that details like how basically culturally he just wasn't accepted there. He's a Southern guy trying to install the spread option offense at Michigan where you line up in the eye and pound it down their throat, the whole thing. And he just never was accepted to Arizona where he won the conference championship, the only one they've had in 100 years or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, he got
10
into
win
the Pat.
season.
Yeah, he got into the Pac-12 title in 2014. They
Right.
beat Oregon on Thursday night football in the regular season, but then in the Pac-12 title game, they lost a big one
Who
on
was on the
Friday
call?
night. Oh, what'd you say?
Do you know who was on the call?
Oh man, I don't think it was Gus Johnson because he was like, "Nope, I got Big Ten title with Ohio State, Wisconsin."
Yeah.
But I know like Sean McDonough was throwing out his voice on the 2014 Fiesta Bowl for Boise State, Arizona, where Boise State won.
Yeah.
Not as excited as he did in 2009 Cincinnati Pitt and 2009 Virginia Tech, Nebraska, 2009 Notre Dame, Michigan, though.
Fair enough.
Oh,
So obviously we know we have our work cut out for us this time with Rich Rod. But I do think they're going to figure it out. I do. I just the one transfer portal window is going to help a lot for teams like because you can't build a team with the portal opening up multiple times a year. That's going to help a lot. The cap has helped, and hopefully you can at least retain your talent. You may not be able to go buy a lot of talent every year now, but you can at least retain some. So that's going to be great. We'll see, man. It's going to be an interesting time under Rich Rod again. And football is fun again. I think that's what a lot of us are grateful for. We just hope it happens sooner than later here because it's
wow.
it's going to be a great thing.
Well, I mean, like the Big 12, you never know who's going to be winning that conference.
No, no. People rise up out of the ashes and win that thing every single year.
And the fact of the matter is, like with Utah, I don't know how long Kyle Whittingham's going to be there, but I can imagine 2025 is his last season,
It could very
and
well be. Yeah.
and we're going to be calling the end of an era for Mike Gundy pretty soon if Oklahoma State's having a bad start in conference play, because I'm just feeling like the energy's not there for him anymore. I feel like he doesn't want to be coaching college football anymore, like especially in a different era from when he started it. Anyhow, and honestly, like that season from 2024, disastrous. And when Mike Gundy's son was like defending him, saying, my father's giving you everything. He's giving you everything. If you're having to have your son or your spouse or anybody in your family do that, this person gave you everything, that means their era is probably going to be gone at that job soon. Which, I mean, I'm not faulting him for defending his father. I mean, like, that's what you got to do. You got to defend your family. But, it was just like, why are you deleting your X account if you felt like you didn't say or do anything wrong? Why are you deleting your
Right.
X account? Why are you, like, good grief? Like, I mean, there's been a lot of people hiding their X accounts lately, like, especially that AP voter. Like, good grief. Ugh. Ugh. But I think West Virginia will be all right. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, because I
Yeah,
mean,
we're going to be fine. I mean, as far as Saturday goes, it's going to be a tough game, man. Unfortunately, Pitt hasn't got our best years here recently. I mean, it's just the
oh,
truth. We haven't been in a great place in the program. We're coming out of, you know, it's weird with Neil Brown, the era under Neil Brown, because he was never horrible. He was always just mediocre.
oh
It's
yeah,
just the truth. So I'm looking forward to hopefully turning this thing around this year, but definitely next year and beyond. I think it's when Rich Rod will actually start cooking a little bit
oh
because the culture will be what it is and everything should be a little bit more easier to ingratiate a bunch of new guys into. But yeah, man, it's going to be a wild scenario for sure because the brawl is just one of the best rivalries in college football. I mean, we know that. You know that. Um, and Pitt has on paper the more talented team. You know, I
oh
mean, they
yeah,
do. They've got the quarterback, they've got the running back, they've got the defensive line, they've got the All American linebackers, they've got the coach that's been there forever. We have no reason to win this game on paper, but I don't know something about this rivalry, but also something about Rich Rod and this crew. I just think that we just did a video earlier. Rich Rod started out 0-3 at Jack State last year when they had almost 60 new players,
yup,
and then they won the league. They won eight straight. They won eight in a row to win the Conference USA championship down the stretch in a similar situation last year. Could this team make such a drastic improvement? Maybe. Hopefully they get hot. You got to find a quarterback. You got to find a running back. And there's a lot to that. I get it. Considering we're in game 3 and still haven't technically found our quarterback, hopefully now is the time.
yeah. Now is a perfect time. And, like seeing Matt's Brown and a few other guys, like,
Yeah.
they are good choices at QB if the Nico era is not working out for them. And I'm looking at week 4. I'm looking at conference play. That's a rough
Yeah.
stretch. You got to go to Kansas. You got Utah coming to your backyard, which softens the blow a little bit. And you got
A
to
little
go to
bit.
BYU on Friday night, but you got a bye week for week 7. But Central Florida, I don't know what version what we're gonna get from the Scott Frost era in the second stint. I mean, I'm not having a lot of high hopes for the Scott Frost era for the second stint in Central Florida, but we'll see.
Yep.
But Colorado, they we'll know more about them after Friday night against Houston. Same with Houston.
Yeah.
TCU's looking pretty good. Arizona State, I'm wondering how they're going to be in conference play, but we'll know more about that. Texas Tech, they're overhyped until proven otherwise. They're talked
Agreed.
about every season. Like, oh my
Agreed.
God.
Yeah, I agree.
I still don't like West Virginia Texas Tech on rivalry week. It's there's just something wrong about that.
Yeah, it's weird. It makes no sense.
That's gotta just like cost you in money. Like
You
good
think it would at
God.
least be Cincinnati or UCF? It's not.
Oh my God. It's like how do you deal with that? But I mean, like the Mountaineers, like if they win against Pitt on Saturday, what's the record for the rest of the year?
Well, historically, West Virginia, whether it's versus Maryland or versus Pitt, I'll give you the last 3 years of Neil Brown as an example. In 2023, we won the backyard brawl. We won 9 games. In 2002 and 2020, 2022 and 24, we lost, and we won what 5 and 6 games or whatever it was. We won. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but so the game, and then Maryland historically, if we beat Maryland, that was a great barometer for whether we were going to be good or not that year. So I think similarly with Pitt this time, if we beat Pitt, there's no reason we can't win 7 games. 8 games maybe. If we lose to Pitt, we're going to be struggling big to make a bowl. It's just the way it is.
Oh yeah. But we'll definitely wait and see. I mean, I'm liking where the Mountaineers are going, but I'm also liking where the Pitt Panthers could be going this season as well. I mean, like you got a young man in Eli Holstein. I mean, I don't want to get on his bad side. Like he will chew you up like a chicken nugget. Like like that
He can
pass.
toss the thing around, man.
God, I mean he'll chew you up big time. Like my God,
Chick
like
Fil A.
oh yeah, he'll be chewing you up, dude, 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 dude.
Uh,
Like hey, somebody's gonna get upset by Pitt. Like maybe it's Miami, but who knows?
maybe.
Like
I'm making a point not to pay attention to what they're doing.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame
Uh,
you. But yeah, like also like we talked a little bit about like the future of the backyard brawl, and it seems like both teams want to play each other a whole bunch, but it's just like conference realignment, the change of the conference schedules. I feel like that's going to screw with it a little bit because I mean, like after next week, we're not seeing Florida, Miami. We don't know. Like it's like that's not happening. But at least we still got Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Clemson, South Carolina, Kentucky, Louisville. But it makes me worry a little bit about the future of this rivalry between Pitt, West Virginia. Because I mean, like, I know they're coming back 2029 through 2032, but we'll wait and see. Like, maybe if everybody was at like 8 conference games, something, then
right.
yeah, that'd be nice. So it's like make some changes, like make everybody play each other. But it's just we'll wait and see.
100%.
Oh man. But yeah, it'll be a wild ride, like 2025. You know, the first year, it's might be a dud, might not be good enough to make a ball game. But 2026 is the year where everything gets rocking and rolling in Morgantown, and especially with Pat McAfee putting in that money in West Virginia.
That's right, baby.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like I'm looking at the Big 12. And there's a lot of money from Pat McAfee. He's putting it all in the NIL for West Virginia. I don't
Yep.
see anybody doing that for Oklahoma State. I don't see anybody doing that for Central Florida. Nobody is getting that kind of support in the Big 12. Nobody else is.
Great. I agree 100%, man. I don't
Yeah.
know. We're lucky we have it. I certainly don't take it for granted. I just wish that we could, I wish it would happen faster, but I understand that it can't, that we're going to be waiting on certain portions of this to come around because you just don't get good right away these days. Very rarely do you have the 1 year and you're off to the races. So,
Agreed. Agreed. I mean, it's just, I just know like the second stint is going to be really exciting with Rich Rod. It's just going to be fantastic.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. Well, I will say, got some magic coming your way, all right here on this channel. And there's going to be more episodes of the Jacksonian coming your way, including an upcoming episode with Sonny Verma, which we will be filming 2 weeks from now, and it'll be released the day after. And for those, and Mountaineer Paul, thank you for coming on episode 78, good buddy. I
No
appreciate
problem,
it.
man.
So it was a pleasure having you on. And for those who don't know about you, where can people find you?
Hey, look, Locked On West Virginia, absolutely, is where I'm at. And then, we record 7 days a week there, sometimes 2, 3, even 4 times a day sometimes. We're also on podcast if you need us there. Anywhere you get your podcast, Locked On West Virginia. And then last but not least, at Paul Mountaineer. It's just the name Paul, and then attached to Mountaineer with no S on X.
There we go, man. Tell your friends.
Allergies get me here.
Oh, it's all right, man. Like, it's fall. Fall's coming already. Growl.
It's here, buddy.
I'm staying inside for the most part. I was like, no. So tell your friends, your family, and the cashiers at pubs about the magic Mountaineer Paul is creating. All right here on Paul Mountaineer on @Twitter and on Locked On West Virginia. And of course, you can check me out all right here on Jackson Johnson 979, where I've got numerous episodes of the Jacksonian, my collaborations with Sports Talk with Austin on Pits Analysis and Final Whistle, and much more to come. And you can check me out on Alabama with the Voice of College Football, where I've got Magic with Jeffrey Dolan Talk Sports and Coach Smith Hines, where we go over our takes on the latest news and notes on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Crimson Tide Live. Tuesday at Primetime Live, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And the call-in show, which it's going to look a little different Thursday nights, but you'll know why. And, of course, you got the 53rd edition of Crimson Tide Live, where we have Ryan Herons joining us. And you can check me out on my latest updates on Jackson BOCFB on @Twitter and on Instagram and threads at Jackson Johnson 543908. And with that being said, like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss another video or another episode whatsoever. And we will see you soon. Have a good Thursday night, everybody.